And we are joined again by Major Anthony Barnes. He's the General Secretary of the Salvation Army. Can you hear me, Major Barnes? Can you hear me? It's Paula in New York.
Yes.
Good,
yes, I can.
Great. Can you bring us right up to date on this situation? Because while thousands have been evacuated, so many more are wondering what happens next.
Absolutely. We're having some difficult situations here in Southern California with these fires, 4 fires going on throughout the Los Angeles County. However, the Salvation Army is mobilized, and we are prepared and continue to be in preparations to help meet the most immediate needs for our neighbors in need.
But what are those needs? I mean, what are you seeing out there?
Well, we move right into meeting the immediate needs of the people. We want to make sure that people have shelter. We want to make sure that people have food in their stomachs, that people are not going hungry, that they have access to water and clothing. We know so many of our neighbors in need are losing so many of their valuables. And if folks are even being preventative measures, leaving their homes, but not knowing exactly where they're going to go. And this is where we get to step in and meet those immediate needs.
Yeah, no doubt it's met with so much despair, but also shock, even if they are thankful to be alive. I mean, are you expecting many more evacuations at this point?
Well, this is it's an evolving situation, which can go either direction. And so we're preparing, without saying preparing for the worst, just preparing to serve in any way that we're needed to do so. The Salvation Army, as you would know, is there before, during, and after any disaster strikes, and is committed to serving the whole person, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so we do that by making sure that we have those basic human needs ready to go. And then we're prepared to move in even long term once that transitions.
And unfortunately, that might be needed in this situation. But what are you seeing from people? What are you hearing from people when many of them just escaped barely with their lives and have nothing?
Well, what we're seeing is that that people are just trying to figure out, what do I do next? And that's where we get to come alongside them, point them to the directions. There's a few places that are receiving people now. El Camino Real Charter High School, Westwood Recreation Center, the Richie Valens Recreation Center, and a few more that are mobilizing. And what we're doing is pointing people into those directions so that they can get those needs met, so that we can sit with them and find out, one, how are you doing right now? And we want to remind people that we are with them, no matter what, that they're not walking alone through these disasters. I think that's the first thing that's most important to us. The Salvation Army likes to let our neighbors in need know that we are right with them, because we are their neighbors as well.
In terms of the infrastructure itself, I think, we're looking at homes go up, but obviously schools, community centers, businesses, many of those things have been destroyed. Are you looking at communities that will be unrecoverable for months, if not years?
I think that's always a possibility. The devastation, if you will, is still being assessed. Yes, some schools are being affected. Homes are absolutely affected. And the general community is feeling a sense of being disrupted, of feeling displaced. And so we have a number of different centers within the city, places where some of our location centers that we give assistance to can serve as shelters as well as feeding locations. We also have child development centers where families can potentially bring their children and have some sense of normalcy, if you will. I don't even know that that's the right term, but to just get them back to baseline, to let them know that they're not on their own in this situation, that we're able to help meet those needs and be with them through this.
Yeah, we are just in the first day of this tragedy. I want to ask you, what are you hearing from people in terms of their shock? Because while everyone has told us that these areas of California are used to these wildfires, this really seemed to take people by surprise. I don't know what you've seen and what you've encountered in the last day.
But what we're hearing, as you would most standard here during a disaster, is I didn't think this was going to happen to me, or I didn't know this was coming, and I don't really know what to do next. We feel prepared to come alongside people in those disasters because we have trained emergency disaster response experts that have provided skilled relief services, and we come alongside of them with our officers and staff. In wildfire situations, these typically include things like providing food, hydration, cleanup kits, and hygiene supplies. We also serve food not just to those that have been affected by loss, but also the hardworking first responders of our community, the heroes of our community. We provide that spiritual and emotional care, prayer support, pastoral care, and so on. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as time allows and as we go along into that long-term recovery, as we seek to restore social service programs, implementing long-term recovery plans. And so we don't just meet their needs today, we're with them tomorrow and beyond.
Certainly a lot of work ahead. And as you said, heroes, everyday people having to step up in order to literally save lives. We're going to leave it there for now, Major Barnes.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you joining us.